Chapter 177. I, Xianxia, have failed to discipline the disciples of my clan well. When I heard that my niece had offended the Li clan, I specially came over to apologize. Jiyu, what are you waiting for? Come and apologize to clan leader Li. Xianxia shouted at Xiangjiu. Jiyu walked over with fear and trepidation. She bowed. Patriarchally, Jiyu is insensible. Please forgive me. Li Tianhan glanced at Jiyu, then back to Xianxia, waiting for his next words. If he forgave the other party with just a simple apology, then his Li clan would be worthless. Xianxia replied awkwardly, Patriarchally, I, Xianxia, actually have a request for your Li clan. Our silver-rich city has been in a slump for the past few years. I would like to invite your Li clan to enter our city and open a few shops to help our city regain its prosperity. I wonder if Patriarchally can help me? Of course, I won't ask for nothing. Your Li clan's shops in Silver-Rich City can be exempted from taxes for 5 years. Offering gifts and apologizing was a form of knowledge. If he directly gave gifts or asked the Li clan to open a shop in Silver-Rich City, it would be too vulgar and would easily arouse the other party's disgust. But if Xianxia did the opposite and asked the Li clan to help Silver-Rich City, the effect would be much better. One had to know that Silver-Rich City's industries had been declining for the past few years, but this was a normal phenomenon. It didn't mean that Silver-Rich City needed external help. Letting the Li clan open a shop in Silver-Rich City was a great thing. Li Tianhan replied, if it's just opening 1 or 2 shops, then forget it. My Li clan's energy is limited. Seeing that Li Tianhan had relented, Xianxia eyes flashed with joy. How can 1 or 2 shops help Silver-Rich City? We need at least 50 shops. I wonder how much funds your Li clan has. If it's not enough, my Xiang clan can lend some to your Li clan. Hearing this, Li Tianhan was tempted. 50 shops wasn't a small number, it was a huge number. Normally speaking, a shop's annual net income would be at least 5,000 gold coins. It had to be known that this was a net income of nearly 300,000 gold coins. If it was tax-free, it wouldn't be difficult to reach 500,000 gold coins. Men quickly served the 3 of them tea. City Lord Xiang, please take a seat. Li Tianhan gestured with his right hand. To be honest, Li Tianhan didn't want to fall out with the Xiang family unless it was absolutely necessary. There was a saying that went, nothing can be done to the extreme. One had to leave a path of retreat for oneself. Right now, the Li family was in the limelight, but making too many enemies was not a good thing. Patriarch Li is too polite. Xianxia heaved a sigh of relief. This matter had finally been settled, and he had even established a relationship with the Li family. As long as the Xiang family managed this relationship well, there would only be benefits. Li Tianhan said, for City Lord Xiang to personally pay a visit to our Li family for such a small matter is our Li family's honor. Although our Li family has declined in recent years, we still have sufficient funds. Opening 50 shops won't be a problem. During this period, I hope City Lord Xiang will take care of us. After all, the Li family had more than 50 years of history. It was not difficult for them to transfer millions of gold coins. Of course. Xianxia nodded repeatedly. As the servant girls served the tea, the atmosphere in the conference hall was extremely harmonious. Both parties were chatting and laughing. At this moment, Xianxia cupped his fist and said, Patriarch Li, I am Xianxia, a direct disciple of the Azure Water sect. I have heard of Li Shidi's name before, but have never met you before. I wonder if Patriarch Li can introduce me? Li Tianhan had long noticed Xianxia. Hearing that he was a direct disciple, he was surprised and thought, it seems like this person is the Xiang family's greatest reliance. But Fuchen didn't like to entertain guests. As his father, he didn't want to force him. He couldn't help but speak with difficulty. Fuchen is currently practicing his sword. I'm afraid he doesn't have the time. Xianxia didn't want the situation to be too awkward. He laughed. Since he doesn't have the time, then forget it. Tianxiang, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. There is no need to rush. I see. Tianxiang was too impulsive. Xianxia didn't reveal any dissatisfaction. Gold-class direct disciples were all cultivation maniacs and would always do as they pleased. In his opinion, Li Fuchen should be the same. If not, how could he have achieved such accomplishments? Guan Clan. Patriarch, I received news that Silver Rich City Lord, Xianxia has personally visited the Li clan to apologize. A Guan clan's martial artist knelt on one knee and reported. Guan Yu's expression was extremely unpleasant. Ever since Li Fuchen stood out in the Azure Water sect, he had some regrets. Not only did he regret breaking off the engagement, he regretted that the Guan clan was too ruthless all these years. They didn't even leave a path of retreat for themselves. What should he do now? Li Fuchen was now a gold-class direct disciple of the Azure Water sect. With just a word from him, the Guan clan would never be able to make a comeback. Guan Shui was only an inner sect disciple and couldn't help the Guan clan at all. You may leave. Guan Yu waved his hand and looked as though he had aged a lot. Li Fuchen, you are truly the bane of the Guan clan. Guan Yu muttered. Back at the genius contest, Li Fuchen caused the Guan clan to lose everything. Had it not been for Guan Shui, no one from the Guan clan would have been able to enter the Azure Water sect. Who would have thought that it was just the beginning of a nightmare? Now, the real nightmare had arrived. Guan Yu, go to the Li clan and offer a humble apology. Afterwards, move the entire clan out of Yunwu City. An elder walked in. It was the Guan clan's founder, Guan Tong. Founder, I'm afraid this isn't appropriate. Move the entire clan out of Yunwu City? Where to? Every city was intertwined with each other. As an outsider, it would be too difficult for them to settle down. Back when the Guan clan came to Yunwu City, they received a lot of help from the Li clan. Guan Tong, do you still not understand? The Guan clan can no longer develop in Yunwu City. Only by leaving Yunwu City can we have a chance to make a comeback. But the prerequisite is that the Li clan will let the Guan clan off. Asking for forgiveness was to prevent the Li clan from killing them. If not, they wouldn't even have the chance to leave Yunwu City. Yang clan, the Yang clan's founder and patriarch were having a headache. After a long discussion, there was only one best choice, which was to move the entire clan out of Yunwu City. The Li clan was too powerful now. Even if they didn't have a good relationship with the Li clan, they wouldn't have any chance to develop in Yunwu City and would only continue to decline. Of course, the prerequisite was for the Li clan to let the Yang clan off. They didn't know the attitude of the Li clan yet, so they had to test it out. If they wanted to test it out, they would have to ask for forgiveness. On this day, the upper echelons of the Guan clan and Yang clan went to the Li clan to ask for forgiveness. Half a day later, the upper echelons of the Guan clan and the Yang clan left. No one knew what happened inside. They only knew that after the two clans left the Li clan, they began to move. This matter couldn't be concealed even if they wanted to. Gradually, the news spread throughout the entire Yunwu City. The citizens of Yunwu City were in an uproar and were all filled with emotions. The Guan clan moved, the Yang clan moved. Yunwu City was left with the Shentu clan and the Li clan. If everything went according to plan, the Shentu clan would also leave Yunwu City. By then, the Li clan would be the only one left in Yunwu City. This was the true domination of the world. From now on, the Li clan would be the sky of Yunwu City and no other forces would be able to go against them. Of course, whether or not the situation could be maintained depended on whether or not Li Fuchen could continue to grow. If Li Fuchen stopped growing in the future, there would definitely be new forces coming to Yunwu City to fight with the Li clan. Since ancient times, it was unknown how many times this had happened. Chapter 178. Half a month later, a representative from the sect arrived. It was an inner sect elder with the surname Tsang. Elder Tsang came under the orders of the Grand Elder. Before he came, he had already looked through the information on the Shentu clan. He knew that this clan was rather tyrannical in recent years. They bullied men and women, embezzled money, and forcefully accused smaller clans. If it was under normal circumstances, the Azure Water sect wouldn't bother. After all, any clan that stayed in the city lord's position for a long time would degenerate. As long as they didn't degenerate to the point of being unscrupulous, The Azure Water sect would usually turn a blind eye and send someone to warn them. But this time was different. It was a gold-class direct disciple who deposed the city lord. Since even the gold-class direct disciple couldn't stand it, then the Azure Water sect had to take this matter seriously. Yunwu City's city lord and a gold-class direct disciple. It was obvious who was more important. In the skies above Yunwu City, Elder Tsong's voice echoed throughout the city. During Shintu Jianhe's reign, he allowed his clansmen to bully men and women, murder for wealth. From today onwards, he is relieved of his position as Yunwu City's city lord. The substitute city lord will be temporarily appointed by Patriarch Li Tianhong. The new city lord will arrive in a few days. The Azure Water sect had at least 8,000 Earthrealm martial artists. Those that wanted to be the city lord could be easily found. There was no need to worry about the city lord candidate. The Shintu clan's reign of Yunwu City is finally over. If I remember correctly, Shintu Jianhe has been in power for about 18 years. That's right. Ever since Shintu Jianhe took over, the Shintu clan leapt from being one of the 4 major clans to the head of the 4 major clans. In a flash, 18 years have passed and the Shintu clan has finally come to an end. Their rise and fall are all due to the city lord. The 200,000-plus citizens of Yunwu City all heard Elder Tsong's voice and were in a heated discussion. Li clan, Elder Tsong specially paid a visit to Li Fuchen. Elder Tsong. In Li Fuchen's courtyard, the two of them sat on stone chairs and conversed. Elder Tsong laughed. In the entire Yunwu City, no one has the ability to challenge the Li clan. Congratulations. Li Fuchen replied, I have let Elder Tsong laugh at me. These are all small matters. After settling these small matters, I will wholeheartedly pursue the pinnacle of the martial Tao. Elder Tsong nodded his head and said, It's rare that you haven't been disturbed by the worldly fame and fortune. There are many geniuses who could have achieved even greater things, but they have been tied down by too many things and have gradually lost their devotion to the martial path. Those who are truly able to achieve great things are those who can resist temptation and loneliness. Li Fuchen was much calmer than he imagined. He was so calm that he didn't seem like a 19-year-old youth, but more like a sage who had seen through the rules of the world. Drinking a mouthful of tea, Elder Tsong said, Work hard. You are able to become a gold-class direct disciple, which means that you have great potential. But you must not be arrogant and complacent. The East Unicorn continent is extremely vast. The 4 regions that the 4 sects occupy are just the tip of the iceberg. There are many more regions outside, like the regions that are governed by the sects, the chaotic 100-battle region, the demonic 10 regions where demons roam freely. A regular martial artist can only travel around 70% of the regions in the East Unicorn continent. The rest of the regions are impossible to enter. So compared to the entire East Unicorn continent, my Azure Water region is just an ordinary region. In order to protect ourselves, we have to constantly develop. In the history of the East Unicorn continent, there have been 3 sect wars. In every sect war, many sects would be annihilated. And those sects that were annihilated, without exception, were all the weaker sections. My Azure Water sect has never experienced a sect war, but we have to make preparations for the 4th sect war. I am not saying all this to give you pressure. You are only at the Earth realm now. These matters that involve the entire continent have nothing to do with you. I just want you to know that the Earth realm is only the initial stage of self-defense in the East Unicorn continent. If you want to dominate the East Unicorn continent, it is still far from enough. Elder Tsong was a member of the Grand Elders faction. He had to remind Li Fuchen to always maintain a high fighting spirit. Li Fuchen replied, Elder Tsong, don't worry. I understand what you are saying. Arrogance and complacency will not happen to me. With the golden amulet, his horizons were broader than anyone else. He suspected that the golden amulet wasn't an object of this world, but a treasure from a higher realm. In order to not let the golden amulet down, the only thing Li Fuchen could do was to constantly improve and surpass himself, until he completely understood the secret of the golden amulet. After chatting for 2 hours, Elder Tsong left with Shintu Jianhe. Shintu Jianhe was after all a middle management member of the Tsonglan sect. Removing him from his position as city lord was a punishment, and he still had to arrange other matters for him. Dad, Mum, leave the clan matters to others. You have more important matters to attend to. On this day, the Li Fuchen family of 3 gathered together. Li Tianhan asked curiously, "What other important matters are there?" Li Fuchen took out 3 storage bags and said, "These 3 storage bags contain some herbs and elixirs." Storage bags? Li Tianhan and Xin Yuyan's breathing quickened. They had only heard of such items but had never seen them before. It was said that a single storage bag could be auctioned for a few 100,000 gold coins. If one's background wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't even be able to buy it or keep it. Li Fuchen took out 3 storage bags in one go. This was too much. Opening the storage bag, Li Tianhan and Xin Yuyan were once again dumbfounded. The herbs inside were all stored in jade boxes. Opening the jade boxes, they saw that they were all high-tier yellow-class herbs and peak-tier yellow-class herbs. There were even a few low-tier mystic-class herbs. As for the pills, it was even more frightening. Stacked together, they were basically all yellow-class, high-tier, or peak-tier pills. If these pills were to be auctioned, it would be worth at least 1 or 2 million gold coins, which was equivalent to decades of savings for the Li clan. "Fuchen, you need these more than we do. We cannot accept them." Li Tianhan said. Li Fuchen shook his head. "I obtained 10 million sect contribution points from the 100 herbs hidden domain. I can have as many of these items as I want, so you don't have to worry about me." Finishing his sentence, Li Fuchen took out another storage bag. This time, he personally opened the storage bag and took out the origin return herb and earth-shattering fruit. "Dad, Mom, this origin return herb can allow you to advance 1 level quickly without any side effects. Dad, you are now at the 7th level of the origin realm. With just 2 stalks of origin return herb, you will be able to reach the 9th level of the origin realm. Mom, you are at the 2nd level of the origin realm. In a short period of time, you might not be able to break through to the 9th level of the origin realm. But within a few years, it shouldn't be a problem." Even though the origin return herb didn't have any side effects, it still had its limits. As for how many levels it could increase, it would vary from person to person. Li Fuchen didn't stop and open the jade box containing the earth-shattering fruit. This is the earth-shattering fruit. One day, when you reach the peak of the 9th level of the origin realm, you can consume the earth-shattering fruit. It will allow you to break through to the earth realm in one go. One after another, important news shocked Li Tianhan and Xin Yuyan so much that they felt dizzy and couldn't even breathe properly. But at this moment, the real important news arrived. Li Fuchen took out the 7-color glazed grape and a yellow-class, peak-tier cultivation technique manual. P.S. A little stuck, the first chapter is late. Chapter 179. This stalk of herb is an earth-class low-tier herb, rainbow glazed grape. Martial artists who are below the 3-star bone frame would be able to upgrade their bone frame by 1 rank after consuming it. Father, you are a 1-star bone frame and after consuming one, you will be able to upgrade to a 2-star bone frame. Mother, you are the same as me and have a normal bone frame. After consuming one, you will be able to upgrade to a 1-star bone frame. Li Fuchen pointed at the 7-color glazed grape. Looking at the 7-color glazed grape that was revolving with rainbow radiance, Li Tianhan and Xin Yuyan looked at each other. Li Tianhan said, "Fuchen, what if I consume 2 of these 7-color glazed grapes?" Li Fuchen laughed and said, "The second pill is useless. Each person can only consume 1 pill." As expected, although it was a pity, Li Tianhan and Xin Yuyan quickly immersed themselves in excitement. The root bone was a person's foundation. Other pills were only temporary, but the root bone was for life. It was more important than anything else. What kind of concept was it to upgrade the 1-star bone frame? Even the strongest expert in the East Unicorn continent couldn't do it. It contained the mysteries of the world. Here are 3 rainbow glazed grapes. Father, Mother, you can have 1 each. I hope to give the last one to Li Xiaodai. There were a total of 7 pills. He took 1 for himself and gave 1 to Li Tianshi, Li Jinxiu, and Li Xuande. Other than him, these 3 were the ones with the greatest potential in the Li family. Finally, Li Fuchen pointed at the manual. This is a yellow class, peak tier technique manual, the triple element technique. I obtained it during a mission and it doesn't belong to the sect. Yellow class peak tier skill? Li Tianhan and Xin Yuyan's emotions were no longer as intense, because they were almost numb now. But when Li Fuchen told them that this was a peak tier, yellow class technique manual, their eyes lit up. Even if it was a 2-star bone frame, if the cultivation technique wasn't good enough, it would be impossible to advance to the Earth realm in this lifetime. The importance of the cultivation technique was second only to the bone frame. Li Tianhan and Xin Yuyan spent the day in excitement. They didn't fall asleep until late at night. 3 days later, with the help of the Origin Return Herb, Li Tianhan advanced to the 9th level of the Origin Realm. Shen Yuyan had also advanced to the 5th level of the Origin Realm. The two of them could see the strong will to fight in each other's eyes. As long as one was a martial artist, there was no one who did not want to pursue a higher realm. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, they would not give up. What was in front of them now wasn't just a glimmer of hope, but absolute hope. If they didn't have any fighting spirit, then they would really be a pile of mud. The Li family had a lot of things to do, and it was impossible for Li Tianhan to break away from them. After all, he was not only the Li family patriarch, but also the acting city lord of Cloud Fog City. Li Tianhan might have to wait for the real city lord to come before he could relax a little. Half a month later, the new city lord arrived. This city lord was called Lian Jinshui, an inner sect deacon of the Zhanglan sect. Now that Yunwu City's city lord position was vacant, he was promoted by 1 rank and became the city lord. His status was equivalent to an outer sect elder. When Lian Jinshui arrived at Yunwu City, he didn't go straight to the city lord's mansion. Instead, he went straight to the Li family. He was very clear in his heart that even though he was the mayor of Cloud Fog City, the Li family was the actual ruler of Cloud Fog City. As for the Li clan's Li Fuchen, he was an existence that even the outer sect elders had to look up to. The Li clan warmly welcomed Lian Jinshui, and even Li Fuchen personally came out to meet him. No matter what, Lian Jinshui was still the city lord of Cloud Fog City. He was the link between the Li clan and the Zhanglan sect. If Li Fuchen wasn't around, the Li clan could contact the upper echelons of the Zhanglan sect through Lian Jinshui. Seeing that the Li clan was on the right track and Yunwu City had a new city lord, Li Fuchen decided to return to the sect. Back at the Zhanglan sect, Li Fuchen immediately immersed himself in cultivation. After leaving the Zhanglan sect for 2 months, Li Fuchen didn't waste any of his time. The Radiant Sword style had already been pushed to the perfection stage and was just 1 step away from the trance stage to comprehend the Radiant Sword intent. At the same time, Li Fuchen felt that his soul spirit was about to metamorphose again. 1 month ago, Li Fuchen's soul spirit was already 99% pale blue. Just a sliver more and it would truly metamorphose. But this sliver was exceptionally difficult to metamorphose. Had it not been for the throbbing of his soul spirit, Li Fuchen would have thought that it would take another 1.5 years to metamorphose. Without intentionally waiting for his soul spirit to metamorphose, Li Fuchen did whatever he was supposed to do. On this day, he went to the martial hall to redeem a large amount of yellow class, mid-tier sword art manuals. He began to cultivate them one by one. Another half a month had passed. In the spacious courtyard, rays of radiance shot out. Li Fuchen had a decent sword Dao foundation and had already comprehended the meteor sword intent. Furthermore, the meteor sword intent was similar to the radiance sword art. In less than 3 months, Li Fuchen had comprehended the radiant sword intent. With the support of the radiant sword intent, the radiant sword style's speed was too fast. It was even faster than the meteor sword style by a huge margin. When brandishing the sword, Li Fuchen couldn't feel any resistance. Too fast. Li Fuchen took a deep breath. After comprehending the initial stage of the radiant sword intent, he almost couldn't control it. Once the sword intent was released, the sword had to be brandished, or else it would be extremely uncomfortable. This feeling wasn't like a man controlling the sword, but the sword controlling the man. I can release but not withdraw. It seems like I have to practice more. Li Fuchen thought to himself. On the morning of the second day, Li Fuchen, who was preparing to practice his sword, suddenly froze in place. His lifeless eyes suddenly released a resplendent pale blue brilliance. In his mind, his spirit soul had completely turned pale blue. Once the pale blue spirit soul was formed, Li Fuchen's mind was instantly absorbed into his mind. The pale blue spirit soul was like a pale blue crystal ball, magnificent, without a trace of impurities or flaws. In the originally empty and chaotic mind, there were inexplicably many threads appearing. These threads were all in a mess. There was no way to understand where they were connected or where they were connected. Only a few of the threads were connected together to form a complete circuit. Crackle, crackle. The pale blue electric current exploded and all the threads were stained with electric current. The electric current was very brutal, connecting the threads one by one, causing the number of circuits to increase. Not knowing how much time had passed, when the electric current completely dissipated, the threads were hidden as well, as though they were never there before. Is this the pale blue spirit soul? Only now did Li Fuchen regain his consciousness. Looking at the magnificent pale blue spirit soul ball, Li Fuchen couldn't use words to describe its beauty. Taking a deep breath, Li Fuchen's mind retreated from his mind. I wonder how is my perception now? Drawing his sword, Li Fuchen began to practice the Radiance sword style. Li Fuchen was shocked in the next moment. The previously uncontrollable Radiance sword intent was now as gentle as water. The degree of gentleness instantly reached the level of the meteor sword intent. With an intense light in his eyes, Li Fuchen began to comprehend a yellow class, mid-tier sword art. Half an hour passed. 1 yellow class, mid-tier sword art reached the trance stage. 2 hours, 3 yellow class, mid-tier sword arts reached the trance stage. 4 hours, 7 yellow class, mid-tier sword arts reached the trance stage. Chapter 180. The light blue soul spirit's comprehension ability is obviously several times higher than the green soul spirit. I wonder if it will allow me to comprehend the wind shadow true meaning, iron smelting hand true meaning, and shadowless leg true meaning. When one's perception reached a certain realm, one could forcefully comprehend martial Dao true intent. First was the wind shadow true meaning and the shadowless kick true meaning. These two true meanings were related to wind and could be used as references. On the vast mountainside, an illusory figure was shuttling back and forth. It was hard to describe how fast he was. He seemed to be faster than the wind and more agile than a bird. His movements were silent and as fast as lightning. With the wind shadow true intent combined with the shadowless leg true intent, my speed will far surpass the divine movement leg. Furthermore, it will be countless times more agile than the divine movement leg. The speed of the divine movement leg was extremely fast, but that kind of speed was in a straight line. As for the true meaning of wind shadow combined with the true meaning of shadowless leg, be it in a straight line or a curved line, it had reached the pinnacle. It simply didn't seem like something a human could achieve. A leaf flew up. Li Fuchen jumped on the leaf and danced along with it. Innate bone improves all aspects of one's attributes, but all of this seems to be meaningless when compared to perception. Having a high level of comprehension wasn't scary, but having a ridiculously high level of comprehension was scary. When there was no difficulty in comprehending martial arts, it was a wonderful feeling, as if he was about to touch upon the mysteries of heaven and earth. After comprehending the wind shadow true meaning and shadowless leg true meaning, next was the iron smelting hand true meaning. The true meaning of iron smelting hand was related to fire. With the completion stage of the iron smelting hand, it was able to melt metals and purify the impurities in ores. Li Fuchen didn't know what would happen after comprehending the intent of the iron smelting hand. In order to comprehend the intent of the iron smelting hand, Li Fuchen specially found a stove and threw in charcoal to ignite it. The fire burned more and more fiercely, releasing the intent of burning itself and illuminating the world. Fire consumes fuel. The more fuel there is, the fiercer the flame will be. There is no limit to the fierceness of a fire. It seems that it can keep increasing, provided that the support is strong enough. Li Fuchen opened up his right hand and the true inferno chi poured into the palm of his right hand and was constantly compressed. Gradually, Li Fuchen's right hand started to distort. In the next moment, a green flame was released and covered Li Fuchen's palm. Finding a piece of wood, Li Fuchen held it in his right hand. In the blink of an eye, the wood was burned to ashes. Retrieving a piece of yellow class, peak-tier black iron from his storage bag, Li Fuchen held onto it. Not long after, the black iron began to melt, and the molten iron dripped down. It's too destructive. Li Fuchen was shocked at the destructive power of the iron's smelting hand intent. Or rather, he was shocked by the destructive power of the flames. Of course, the reason why the iron smelting hand had such a strong destructive power was largely due to the true burning qi. After all, both were fiery martial arts. With a flash of light in his eyes, Li Fuchen activated his scarlet fire intent and clashed with the iron smelting hand intent. The cyan flame turned into a dark cyan flame. As soon as a piece of wood came into contact with the flame, it immediately shone brightly. After a breath, the wood turned into a pile of ashes. When he held the dark steel in his hand, the dark steel melted at a speed visible to the naked eye, like magma. Smelting iron with my bare hands. I wonder if those sword forging elders also cultivated the iron smelting hand. The Azure Water sect was a sword Dao sect and had a sword forging hall. Be it the disciples, deacons, or elders' swords, they were all forged by the sword forging hall. Of course, other than the sword forging elders, there were also a large number of sword forging disciples. Every time they forged an artifact sword, they would receive a corresponding amount of sect contribution points according to the grade of the artifact sword. With such a strong perception, Li Fuchen naturally didn't want to waste it. 1 month later, Li Fuchen had reached the trance stage for 350 types of yellow class sword arts. There were 100 types of yellow class low-tier sword arts, 100 types of yellow class mid-tier sword arts, 100 types of yellow class high-tier sword arts, and 50 types of yellow class peak-tier sword arts. With the sudden increase in his sword Dao foundation, Li Fuchen's sword Dao perception became even stronger. In just a week, Li Fuchen had reached the trance stage for the mystic class low-tier soaring sky sword style and comprehended the soaring sky sword intent. In just 5 days, he had reached the trance stage for the mystic class low-tier soaring cloud kill slash and comprehended the soaring cloud sword intent. Then came the sunset sword intent, flint fire sword intent, and earth scare sword intent. After returning to the sect for 2 months, Li Fuchen had mastered a total of 7 types of sword intents. At the same time, Li Fuchen's true Inferno technique had progressed from the 13th rank to the 14th rank and was progressing towards the 15th rank. It is time to redeem a mystic class mid-tier sword art. A mystic class mid-tier sword art was something that even high-leveled Earth Realm martial artists would struggle to master. Among the direct disciples in the Azure Water sect, there were less than 10 who had comprehended a mystic class mid-tier sword intent. Amongst them were gold-class direct disciples like Sword Maniac, Sword Tiger, and Emotionless Sword. Arriving at the martial hall, Li Fuchen began to choose his first mystic class mid-tier sword art. Mountain River Sword Style, Forceful Sword Presence. White Cloud Sword Style, Solitary and Emotionless. 9 Revolution Sword Style, 1 blade with 9 revolutions. Rotating Flow Sword Style, Ferocious Sword Presence. Starfire Sword Style, 1 blade with Starfire. A mystic class mid-tier sword art was worth at least 30,000 contribution points. With half price, it was only worth 10,000 or 20,000 contribution points. Li Fuchen had close to 10 million contribution points and naturally didn't mind these points. When he realized that there were a few sword arts that were suitable for him, he decided to redeem more. After some time, Li Fuchen chose 3 sword arts. They were the 9 Revolution Sword Style, Rotating Flow Sword Style, and Starfire Sword Style. When the martial hall elders saw Li Fuchen redeeming 3 mystic class mid-tier sword arts, he frowned and thought to himself, is this child arrogant or greedy? He naturally knew who Li Fuchen was. But in his opinion, an Earth Realm martial artist who could cultivate a mystic class, mid-tier sword art to the extremity was already considered fortunate. To cultivate 3 sword arts, it wouldn't take 3 times as long, but at least 10 times as long. Shaking his head, The Martial Hall elder didn't say anything. Gold-class direct disciples were all stubborn. Once they decided on something, no one could change it. Holding on to the 3 sword art manuals, Li Fuchen returned to his courtyard. After some consideration, he decided to study the Starfire sword style first. This sword art was also related to fire and should be much easier to comprehend. During the cultivation process, Li Fuchen sighed in his heart. A sword art was indeed a sword art. In terms of lethality, it wasn't something cultivation techniques could compare with. He might have cultivated the Scarlet Mystic Flame technique to the highest rank and comprehended the Scarlet Fire technique intent. But Li Fuchen had a feeling that if he could grasp the Starfire sword intent, its power would be a few-fold stronger than the Scarlet Fire technique intent. The Starfire sword style was an extreme sword art, even more extreme than the Meteor sword style. The Meteor sword style pursued penetrative power, while the Starfire sword style pursued extreme destructive power. Chapter 181. When cultivating a mystic class, low-tier sword art, Li Fuchen only needed a few days to comprehend sword intent. But when cultivating a mystic class, mid-tier sword art, Li Fuchen spent 10 days to reach the completion stage, sub-perfection stage. Li Fuchen understood that just having perception wasn't enough. His cultivation level had to keep up. The higher the grade of the martial arts, the higher the requirement for cultivation level. Just like a rapid river, it could easily form a whirlpool. But for a shallow stream to form a whirlpool, it would be 10 times or even 100 times more difficult. Unless the stream was 10 times or 100 times more rapid than a large river. A pity that there was only so much water in a small stream. To make it extremely rapid, the height required wasn't just 1 or 2 points. Among them, a large stream was the cultivation level, a whirlpool was the martial arts, the speed of the flow was the perception, and the height was the foundation of the martial Dao. Perception and martial Dao foundation had similar effects. Perception itself had its own height, while martial Dao foundation could increase this height. They complemented each other and couldn't be lacking. Spending another half a month, Li Fuchen cultivated the 9 revolution sword style and rotating flow sword style to the sub-perfection stage. It wasn't that Li Fuchen didn't want to continue researching the Starfire sword style. He was truly unable to continue studying it. A mystic class mid-tier sword art required at least a high level of the earth realm to be able to execute it to the extreme. If one had to forcefully push it to the extreme with their superior perception, it would probably take at least a few months. Seems like I have to make a trip to the Sword Monument. Within the Sword Monument, it contained the sword intents of the Zhonglan sect's past experts. If anyone could comprehend all of these sword intents, it would be the same as comprehending all the sword arts of the Zhonglan sect. Such a foundation was the foundation of a sect's sword Dao, enough to support the birth of an absolute expert. Returning the Starfire sword style, 9 revolution sword style, and rotating flow sword styles handwritten manuals, Li Fuchen headed towards the Sword Monument. The Sword Monument was located in a canyon, which got its name from the monument, hence the name Sword Monument Canyon. The canyon was very spacious, but there were plenty of people, at least 30 to 40. Li Fuchen took a glance and saw that most of them were inner sect elders. Only a few were outer sect elders and direct disciples. No one disturbed each other and quietly comprehended. Occasionally, there would be a breakthrough and they couldn't help but practice their sword arts. Li Fuchen's arrival didn't attract anyone's attention. As expected of a sword steel. Even from a distance, Li Fuchen could feel the sword intent that was diffusing from the Sword Monument. Some of these sword intents were gentle like water, some were violent like fire, some were swift like thunder, some were like 100 flowers blooming, some were illusory, and some were like decadent music that could disrupt one's mental state. There were too many sword intents. These sword intents interweaved with each other like a dense net. It was not an easy task to capture a complete sword intent from within. Li Fuchen chose a rather spacious area and sat cross-legged while staring at the Sword Monument. On the Sword Monument, sword scars crisscrossed. As Li Fuchen concentrated, it was as though he could see sword moves flashing in front of his eyes. Every sword move was so exquisite, so unconstrained, and so untraceable. As compared to these sword arts, Li Fuchen's sword art was definitely like a toddler learning to walk and was very immature. Time flew by. On this day, Li Fuchen's heart was moved. He stood up and executed a sword move. This sword move was the Starfire sword style's rapid like starfire. In the air, a spark sputtered. It was tiny and inconspicuous. Crackle, but in the next moment, a burst of flame erupted and the power of rapid like starfire was fully released. Shortly after, the sky was filled with starfire. Unknowingly, Li Fuchen's starfire sword style had reached the perfection stage. Due to Li Fuchen's low cultivation level, which was far from the high levels of the Earth realm, his control was far beyond the high levels of the Earth realm. The exquisiteness of his sword moves was unparalleled. 9 revolution sword style, 9 revolutions in a single blade. Previously, Li Fuchen could only achieve 8 revolutions in a single blade. After staying beside the sword monument for a few days, Li Fuchen's sword art had actually achieved 9 revolutions in a single blade. With 9 revolutions, it was enough to neutralize any force and return all the force back. To a certain extent, the stronger the opponent's attack, the more force he had to withstand. Lastly was the rotating flow sword style. This was an extremely ferocious sword art. It could be propelled by soft yin qi or blazing qi. In the air, the flames swirled like a stream of water, forming rings of flames that devoured and destroyed everything. Not enough, still not enough. Even though he had pushed all 3 mystic class, mid-tier sword arts to the perfection stage. But Li Fuchen wasn't satisfied. A mystic class, mid-tier sword art that was at the perfection stage was only slightly stronger than a mystic class, low-tier sword art that comprehended sword intent. It wasn't able to increase his ability by a large margin. Focusing his attention, Li Fuchen stared at the sword monument, trying to find the sword scars and sword intents that were compatible with these 3 sword arts. What sword art is this? Li Fuchen unintentionally noticed a pile of strange sword scars. This sword scar was like a pile of ashes, drifting with the wind, with sparks flickering. Everything in the world, turn into ashes. A voice echoed, and Li Fuchen saw a flash of a sword move. This sword move was fearsome to the extreme. With a swing of the sword, everything in the world would be incinerated into ashes. Could this be one of the Azure Water sect's 3 major sword arts, the Ash sword style? Li Fuchen thought to himself. The Azure Water sect had 2 absolute techniques, 3 major sword arts, and 1 sect-defining secret technique. The 2 absolute techniques were the true Azure Water technique and the true Inferno technique. One of the 3 major sword arts was the Ash sword style. As for the sect-defining secret technique, it was naturally the sect origin swords. If any of these 6 absolute techniques were to be pushed to the extremity, it would be enough to dominate the world and look down on all heroes. Noticing the similarities between the Ash sword style and the Starfire sword style, Li Fuchen began to study them seriously. Days passed by. Li Fuchen could feel it more deeply. A sword intent that was hidden in the depths of his heart was being nurtured. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Li Fuchen couldn't help but draw his black gold sword. A sharp and blazing intent was emitted. The surface of Li Fuchen's black gold sword had traces of undulations that spread out. Shortly after, tiny sparks were scattered. Go! Opening his eyes, Li Fuchen brandished his sword. The sword light couldn't be seen, only a spark could be seen flying out and landing on a large boulder. It was obviously filled with explosive power, but didn't emit any sound. The boulder was blasted open with a large hole. Magma was flowing within and there were even bits of magma splattering. With the emptiness in his eyes gone, Li Fuchen regained his complete consciousness. So this is the Starfire sword intent? Looking at the boulder that was melted into magma, Li Fuchen narrowed his eyes. This sword art was too dominant. Compared to the penetrative power of the meteor sword style and the destructive range of the radiant sword style, it was unknown how many folds more dreadful. It was just like killing when the sword was drawn. Taking out the water bottle from his storage bag, Li Fuchen took a look. 15 days had passed and it was much faster than he imagined. His consciousness felt that only a few days had passed. There are still 15 days left. I might as well use it all. In a flash, another 13 days had passed and Li Fuchen had comprehended the 9-revolution sword intent. Perhaps he was addicted to this feeling. Li Fuchen added another 1 million contribution points and comprehended the rotating flow sword intent as well. As of now, Li Fuchen had a total of 10 sword intents. 7 mystic class, low-tier sword intents. 3 mystic class, mid-tier sword intents. Chapter 182. In the courtyard, at the stone table, Li Fuchen was enjoying his tea. The tea was the clear heart tea, which cost 10,000 contribution points per kilo. Li Fuchen redeemed a few kilos and brewed a pot of it every day. I have less than 9 million contribution points left. I have to make good use of these points and not spend them recklessly. Even though he had a large amount of contribution points, Li Fuchen didn't feel like he had an endless supply of points. The 100 Herbs hidden domain was a one-time opportunity and there wouldn't be another one in the future. As his ability increased, every time he passed a floor of the direct inheritance tower, he would be qualified to redeem a true inheritance. Those that could be considered as a true inheritance would require a few 100,000 contribution points to redeem, especially secret techniques. A 3-star secret technique would only require around 500,000 contribution points. A 4-star secret technique would increase by 10-folds and would require 5 million contribution points. A 5-star secret technique would require 50 million contribution points. The Grand Elder, Zhao Wujin, had saved for decades before he had enough contribution points to exchange for the sect origin swords. Of course, if he wanted to exchange for the sect master and Grand Elder's secret technique, he would have to obtain the approval of the sect master and Grand Elder. Clang, clang, clang. A knocking sound could be heard from outside the courtyard. Come in. Li Fuchen was a little curious as his courtyard never had any guests. The door was pushed open and a youth walked in. Is this Li Shidi? I am Xiang Tianxiang, a clansman of the silver-rich city's Xiang clan. Xiang Tianxiang looked at Li Fuchen and revealed a smile. Have a seat. Li Fuchen gestured with his right hand. Thanks. Xiang Tianxiang sat opposite of Li Fuchen. Swish, swish. Li Fuchen poured a cup of tea for Xiang Tianxiang. The tea was like amber, crystal clear and had a trace of solidification. Xiang Tianxiang lifted the cup and took a sip. This is indeed the clear heart tea. It clears the mind and makes me forget all my worries. He had never entered the 100 Herbs hidden domain and had limited contribution points. It wasn't even enough to redeem cultivation resources, let alone tea leaves. He had only drunk this clear heart tea a few times. Li Fuchen poured another cup for Xiang Tianxiang and asked, I wonder why Xiang Shixiang is looking for me? Li Fuchen knew that the Li clan and the Xiang clan were related. Xiang Tianxiang replied, Inner sect disciples need to go on a mission once a year. Direct disciples don't have this rule and can stay in the Zhonglan sect all the time. But I think there are only a few of them. This time, I'm here to ask Fuchen Shidi if he is interested in heading to the Divine Wind Hall or Iron Blood Hall to hunt for Demon Dao martial artists and eliminate the remnants of the Evil Fist sect. Demonic martial artist, Evil Fist sect remnant. Li Fuchen was in deep thought. Demonic Dao martial artists were martial artists who cultivated martial arts that were devoid of humanity. Although the Heaven-defying sect was both righteous and evil, they were not considered demonic Dao martial artists. The cultivation techniques and martial arts that they cultivated only looked terrifying. They did not need to harm living beings. But demonic path martial artists were different. The cultivation methods they cultivated were extremely cruel. Like the blood-sucking technique. The more blood sucked, the faster one's skill would increase. If they sucked the blood of an expert, their skill would increase even faster. It was a fast speed technique. There were also some demonic path cultivation methods that required harvesting yin to nourish yang. It was unknown how many women had been harvested to death. There were even some cultivation methods that required the blood of a baby born in a yin year, a yin month, and a yin day. In short, demonic path cultivation methods were inhumane. Even the most gentle demonic path cultivation methods were extremely cruel and could not be accepted by ordinary people. As for the Evil Fist sect, this was an extremely terrifying sect. During the Third Sect War of the East Unicorn Continent, there was the shadow of the Evil Fist sect. After the Third Sect War ended, the Evil Fist sect fell apart, but it was not destroyed. It was just scattered, and almost every region had the shadow of the Evil Fist sect. Some were worried that if the Fourth Sect War broke out, it might be instigated by the Evil Fist sect. Sure, let's go to the Divine Wind Hall. The Zhonglan sect had many halls. Among them, the Divine Wind Hall and Iron Blood Hall were in charge of maintaining the stability and prosperity of the Zhonglan region. They were mainly responsible for hunting enemies and eliminating demonic Dao organizations. Sure, let's go to the Divine Wind Hall. Xianxia smiled and drank the tea in a single gulp. The Divine Wind Hall's main hall was located in the Zhonglan sect. If the two of them wanted to go to the branch hall, they had to first obtain the main hall's approval. The main hall had no reason to reject a direct disciple's request. Just like that, the two of them obtained the Divine Wind Hall's 7th branch token and chose a day to head to the 7th branch. The 7th branch was located in the north of the Zhonglan region. On the second day, the two of them rode on Class 2 demonic blood horses and headed north. TSK, such a tragedy. This village was almost massacred. As they got closer to the north, the two of them could feel the chaos. Compared to the south, it was like heaven and earth. Why is it so chaotic here? Li Fuchen didn't understand. Xianxia explained. To the northwest of the Zhonglan region is the Heaven Fiend sect, and to the northeast is the Spirit Hidden sect. Hence, in the north, Demon Dao martial artists are the most active. Once they are surrounded, they can escape to the Heaven Fiend region or the Spirit Hidden region. Our Zhonglan sect's men wouldn't dare to chase with great fanfare and can only do it in secret. To a certain extent, we are greatly restricted. Out of 10 times, the enemy will escape. Of course, during this period of time, the Demon Dao martial artists are probably too active. It just so happens that we caught up with them. It is rare to see such a situation. Xianxia knew quite a bit and explained. Li Fuchen nodded with a serious expression. These were all innocent lives. Because they didn't have a strong enough martial strength to protect themselves, they could only be slaughtered and didn't have any ability to resist. He didn't dare to imagine if Yunwu City was in such a situation, how could they protect themselves? These Demon Dao martial artists deserve to die. Li Fuchen's body involuntarily released a killing intent. Xianxia sized up Li Fuchen in astonishment and thought to himself, Fuchen Shidi has such a heavy killing intent. But one cannot be reckless when dealing with Demon Dao martial artists. One has to take it slow. If one overestimates himself, he will only lose his life. A few days later, the two of them arrived at the 7th branch of the Divine Wind Hall. The 7th branch was a large-sized manor that was built with giant boulders. Outside the manor, groups of branch disciples were patrolling. These branch disciples were all at the Origin realm. None of them were at the Qi realm, but they were all older. In the Zhonglan sect, there were countless of inner sect odd job disciples who felt that they were unable to become official disciples. They would either choose to join the Zhonglan army or become a disciple of one of the factions. If they could contribute to the faction, they would still be able to climb up the ranks and earn contribution points at a much faster pace. Who goes there? This is the 7th branch of the Divine Wind Hall. A group of branch disciples blocked their path. Xianxia took out the 7th branch token and his own direct disciple token. We are direct disciples of the Zhonglan sect and are here to report. So it is direct Shixiang. These branch disciples had expressions of reverence. Direct disciples had an esteemed status and weren't inferior to the branch master. Of course, when they arrived at the branch, they still had to listen to the branch master's orders. With 2 tokens, the two of them had a smooth journey and soon entered the branch hall. On the way to the branch hall, the two of them saw a giant stone tablet. On it were names, and behind the names, there were numbers. This is the hunting tablet. It only lists direct disciples. Those at the front are basically all gold-class direct disciples. Xianxia explained. Li Fuchen nodded and didn't pay much attention to it. P.S. I don't think I will be able to update on time for the next 2 days. When I can update on time, I will inform everyone. It should be within the next 2 days. Chapter 183. Branch Master, 2 direct disciples are here to report. In the branch hall, a branch deacon came in to report. Another 2? The branch master was called Wang Gan and was a low-leveled Heaven Realm martial artist. Regarding the true disciples, he had a headache. These true disciples were all very powerful, but they were also a little too reckless. They would rush to wherever there was danger. It must be known that the sect had given the branch halls a death quota. Only 1 true disciple could die a year. Unfortunately, this year, a silver-grade true disciple had his blood essence sucked dry. If another one died, he, as a branch hall master, would lose a lot of points. Once his points fell below the passing line, he would be removed from the branch hall master position. Let them in, Wang Gan said helplessly. Although it was a headache, he also knew that true disciples needed to experience battles in order to grow. Since he was sitting in the position of a branch hall master, he had to worry about these things. Li Fuchen and Xianxia entered the branch hall. Direct disciple Li Fuchen, direct disciple Xianxia, greets branch master Wang. The 2 of them greeted in unison. You are Li Fuchen? Hearing Li Fuchen's name, Wang Gan was shocked. He had long heard of Li Fuchen's name. During the trip to the 100 Herbs hidden domain, Li Fuchen used his own strength to slaughter the disciples of the 3 sections. He was even stronger than Sword Maniac. Yes, Li Fuchen replied. Wang Gan frowned. You have only been a direct disciple for a few months. Why are you in such a hurry to hunt Demon Dao martial artists? Besides, you don't lack contribution points, right? Li Fuchen's cultivation level was too low. If Li Fuchen was at the mid-levels of the Earth realm, Wang Gan wouldn't have stopped him. With Li Fuchen's combat strength, he could easily go against high-leveled Earth realm martial artists. As long as Heaven realm martial artists didn't appear, he wouldn't be in any danger. Li Fuchen said, only with danger can I better hone myself. If not, there would be no meaning for me to come here. If Li Fuchen cultivated step by step, he would be able to progress step by step to the peak level of the Earth realm, Heaven realm, Reincarnation realm, or even beyond the Reincarnation realm. But it would be too slow. Perhaps by the time he reached that stage, it would already be decades later. Apart from that, the world was changing too quickly. Who knew if the Azure Water sect would face a crisis of sect annihilation? Who knew when the 4th sect war would occur? He didn't want to be defenseless when the time came. Even if Xianxia didn't invite him this time, he would still come out to train after a period of time. Wang Qian shook his head. He already knew that his persuasion was useless. It's your first time here. How about this? I'll assign you to Group 10's 3rd and 5th teams. It just so happens that they're both lacking members. The 7th branch had a total of 10 groups. Every group leader was a peak stage Earth realm martial artist. In comparison, the 10th group's mission was the lightest, and he had arranged for quite a number of direct disciples to be assigned to it. Thank you, Hall Chief Wang. Li Fuchen and Xianxia cupped their fists. Group 10 was located in the northwest of the villa. The 2 of them walked over. After a while, the 2 of them arrived at a large courtyard. This courtyard was divided into a large hall, a large courtyard, and 5 small courtyards. Each small courtyard had 5 small courtyards. Outside the hall, direct disciples Li Fuchen and Xianxia report for duty. In the hall, a burly man like a bear raised his head. Come in. Greetings to Group Leader Chen. Hearing the introduction, Li Fuchen and Xianxia entered the hall and greeted the burly man. This burly man was the group leader of Group 10, Chen Daoism. He was at the peak stage of the Earth realm and had a higher status than regular outer sect elders and city lords. He was considered a high-class outer sect elder. What arrangements does Hall Chief Wang have for you? Chen Daoism yawned and asked. Li Fuchen replied, Hall Chief Wang asked us to join the 3rd and 5th teams. Oh, then you will join the 3rd and 5th teams. Qin Daxiong nodded. Group leader Qin, we still don't know the leaders of the 3rd and 5th teams. Xianxiang said. Chen Daxiong waved his hand. Don't worry, you will get to know them in a few days. Anyway, our Group 10's mission is the lightest. Li Fuchen and Xiang Tianxiang looked at each other. After Li Fuchen and Xiang Tianxiang left, Chen Daxiong muttered to himself, my Group 10 is about to become a collection point for direct disciples. This won't do. I have to discuss with Hall Chief Wang to let me be the group leader of the other groups. Li Fuchen was a member of the 3rd team and went to the 3rd courtyard. Xiang Tianxiang was a member of the 5th team and went to the 5th courtyard. Just like what Chen Daxiong said, a few days later, they got to know their respective group leaders. The leader of the 3rd team was called Su Qinghai and was at the 7th level of the Earth realm. He was originally an outer sect elder but couldn't stand the peaceful life in the Azure Water sect and came to the Divine Wind Hall's 7th branch. You are our group's 2nd direct disciple. Our group originally had 2 direct disciples, but one of them died. In Li Fuchen's courtyard, Su Qinghai and Li Fuchen were drinking tea and chatting. Didn't you say Group 10 is rather free? How did he die? Li Fuchen inquired. Su Qinghai laughed bitterly. This direct disciple felt that Group 10 was too free, so he sneaked out and wanted to hunt a demon Dao martial artist by himself. As a result, he was sucked dry of his blood essence by a demon Dao martial artist who cultivated a blood-sucking technique. By the time we found him, he was already a dried-up corpse, even his hair and teeth had fallen off. Li Fuchen went silent. This was fate. Since he came to the Divine Wind Hall, he had to be prepared for death. Of course, he wouldn't be like this direct disciple and hunt demon Dao martial artists by himself. It wasn't necessary. He believed that there would always be a chance to hunt demon Dao martial artists. That's right, Jiang Ruohai is currently in seclusion. Once he is out, you can get to know each other. The Jiang Ruohai that Su Qinghai mentioned was the other direct disciple. All right. Li Fuchen nodded. Days passed by and in the blink of the eye, Li Fuchen had already been at the 7th branch for a week. The other groups would have missions every few days, but only Group 10 had not made any moves. Li Fuchen wasn't in a hurry. During the day, he cultivated the true Inferno technique in his courtyard. At night, he would head to the outside of the 7th branch to cultivate the Black Wind 3 clones. The Black Wind 3 clones was a mystic class, mid-tier light body technique. When cultivated to the sub-perfection stage, 1 clone could be formed. When cultivated to the perfection stage, 2 clones could be formed. Including the main body, there would be 3 clones, hence why it was called the Black Wind 3 clones. You are Li Fuchen? On this day, Li Fuchen, who was cultivating the true Inferno technique in his courtyard, was awakened by a voice on the wall. Li Fuchen frowned slightly. Jiang Ruohai. He could feel a trace of hostility from Jiang Ruohai. If it was anyone else, they would have knocked on the door first, but Jiang Ruohai stood on the wall. You better stay away from Chen Fanghua Shimi in the future. Jiang Ruohai spoke indifferently. Based on what? He didn't know what relationship Jiang Ruohai and Chen Fanghua had, but it had nothing to do with him. Based on the fact that you aren't a match for me now. That might not be the case. Li Fuchen didn't have any interest in Chen Fanghua. At this current stage, there wasn't any woman that could make him fall in love with her. But this didn't stop him from becoming friends with Chen Fanghua. Since they were friends, they would naturally visit each other frequently. You want to try? Chapter 184. You aren't a match for me. I advise you not to make a move. Jiang Ruohai was only at the 3rd level of the Earth realm. Li Fuchen had absolute confidence in defeating him. Boasting shamelessly, Jiang Ruohai made his move. Like a gust of wind, Jiang Ruohai arrived in front of Li Fuchen and executed a dense cloud palm style. The densely packed palm shadows covered all of Li Fuchen's space to evade. I said it before, you aren't a match for me. Li Fuchen's figure had long vanished, like a phantom. Jiang Ruohai's pupils shrank. When did he break through the palm technique's blockade? Scanning his surroundings, Jiang Ruohai spotted Li Fuchen. Executing his light body technique, Jiang Ruohai quickly chased after him and struck out with both palms. His figure suddenly rotated, 1, 2, 3. A series of afterimages appeared and Li Fuchen vanished from Jiang Ruohai's sight again. You comprehended light body technique intent? Jiang Ruohai's pupils shrank. The Azure Water sect was a sword Dao sect. Sect disciples focused more on sword arts, and other martial arts were just supplementary. There were very few who could cultivate martial arts other than sword arts to the trance stage. In Jiang Ruohai's opinion, one must at least be at the heaven realm in order to cultivate a mystic class, low-tier martial art to the trance stage and comprehend the intent. Li Fuchen didn't speak and stood on the big tree in the courtyard. So what if you comprehended light body technique intent? I don't believe you can be faster than my sword. Jiang Ruohai unsheathed his sword and slashed out 3 times in a row. The surging sword intent made everyone feel as though they were looking at a lake. Crackle! The big tree was split into 3 and immediately turned into dregs. I see you, don't even think of escaping. With his sword intent locked on, Jiang Ruohai saw a shadow leaping into the sky. He let out a cold smile. Being in the air, there was no way for him to borrow strength. He wanted to see how his opponent was going to dodge. Clear water sky. The surging sword intent rushed into the sky and a straight sword chi was shot at Li Fuchen. Are you sure you can see me? Li Fuchen appeared behind Jiang Ruohai and sent him flying with a punch. Landing awkwardly on the ground, Jiang Ruohai had an unpleasant expression. Li Fuchen's light body technique was too incredible. From start to finish, he didn't even touch the corner of Li Fuchen's clothes. Admittedly, he still had some trump cards that he hadn't used yet, but so did Li Fuchen. Gather! Quick, everyone gather! Just when Jiang Ruohai was about to fight again, Su Qinghai's voice sounded. Just as Jiang Ruohai was about to make another move, Su Qinghai. Gathering now? Did something big happen? Li Fuchen didn't care about Jiang Ruohai. In the main hall, all 25 members of the 5 squads of Group 10 were present. Including Chen Daxiong, there were 26 of them. Li Fuchen took a glance and noticed that there were 7 direct disciples. The reason why he had determined that these people were true inheritors was because of their age. The others were all above 40 or 50 years old. Long Li Tian Ifeng I Li, now the chance is here. According to the scouts, a branch of the Devil's Hand Guild has been discovered in the eastern outskirts of Black Mountain City. Since Group 1, 2, and 3 are out on missions, the remaining 7 groups will set off together to eliminate the Devil's Hand Guild branch. That's great. I have been here for 2 months and have only completed 1 small mission. I haven't even met a true demon Dao martial artist. One of the direct disciples was excited. Chen Daxiong glanced at the person and said, the Devil's Hand Guild is one of the top 10 demon Dao organizations in the Azure Water region. Even if it is just a branch, it is not to be underestimated. Do not be careless or you may lose your life. He was afraid that these direct disciples would be rash and rush to the front line. All right, gather with the other 6 groups now. Chen Daxiong waved his hand and walked towards the plaza. At the plaza, the other 6 groups had already arrived. Fuchen Shidi, that is a motionless sword Xixiang. Xiang Tianxiang came to Li Fuchen's side and pointed at a stern-looking youth on the plaza. Emotionless sword? Li Fuchen looked over. During Sword Maniac's batch, those who were on par with Sword Maniac were Sword Tiger and Emotionless Sword. The 3 of them were older than Li Fuchen by quite a bit. It was obvious how strong they were. At least Li Fuchen didn't think that the current him would be a match for the 3 of them. He reckoned that he would be instantly eliminated by them. Seemingly sensing Li Fuchen's gaze, Emotionless Sword looked over. The instant they exchanged glances, Li Fuchen felt a slight sting in his eyes. The opponent's chi presence was too sharp. Even Chen Daxiong's gaze didn't have such killing power. What's more, Li Fuchen could faintly feel that the opponent's spirit will was extremely formidable. It was much stronger than any sect disciple he had seen before. It was almost on par with a Heaven Realm martial artist. No wonder he is called Emotionless Sword. Li Fuchen was shocked. What a terrifying gaze. Xiang Tianxiang's body shuddered. His spirit will was far inferior to Li Fuchen's. Even though Emotionless Sword wasn't looking at him directly, but the corner of his eyes made him feel extremely uncomfortable, causing his entire body to feel a stinging pain. Wang Gan walked out from the hall. This mission will be led by Group 4's leader, Luo Hui. The rest of the group will follow his orders and set off immediately. Everyone replied in unison. A total of 182 men rode on 182 Class 2 demonic blood horses and left the 7th branch at lightning speed. At the same time, thousands of branch disciples rode on Class 2 demonic blood horses and followed behind. Encircling the Devil's Hand Guild's branch was a battle of experts against experts and soldiers against soldiers. No one was to be spared. The purpose of the branch disciples was to kill those Origin Realm members of the Devil's Hand Guild. The eastern outskirts of Black Mountain City wasn't too far from the 7th branch. 3 days later, everyone arrived. From afar, an ordinary-looking manor entered everyone's vision. Luo Hui waved his hand, "Kill!" According to the intel, this ordinary-looking manor was a small clan on the surface, but it was already under the control of the Devil's Hand Guild. Kill! Thousands of men got off their horses and surrounded the manor from all sides. Inside the manor, damn it, the branch must have been leaked. Everyone rush out. The leader of the Devil's Hand Guild's branch was a peak-level Earth Realm martial artist. Beside him, there were 5 to 6 other peak-level Earth Realm martial artists. The Devil's Hand Guild members rushed out like a tidal wave. There were more than 2,000 Origin Realm martial artists and more than 100 Earth Realm martial artists. It was a formidable force. So many Earth Realm martial artists. This was Li Fuchen's first time witnessing so many Earth Realm martial artists in a fight. The spectacular scene made the blood in his body feel like it was on fire. Boom, boom, boom. The first to clash were the Earth Realm martial artists. Earth Realm martial artists were already able to release their chi. Before both sides even made contact, the horrifying chi forces had already clashed. In an instant, sand and pebbles were sent flying, a violent gale was created, and there were even patches of blood. There were members of the Devil's Hand Guild and also the 7th branch's Earth Realm martial artists. Li Fuchen executed his Meteor Rain Sword. One of the Devil's Hand Guild's Earth Realm martial artists was pierced to death by the sword chi. The rest of them were strong enough to block Li Fuchen's Meteor Rain Sword. Chapter 185. After a few waves of long-range attacks, the Earth Realm martial artists from both sides started to engage in close combat. Li Fuchen's opponent was a 5th-level Earth Realm Demon Dao martial artist with a scar on his face. This Demon Dao martial artist's cultivation technique should be a Mystic class cultivation technique. Furthermore, it was a corrosive Mystic class cultivation technique. His chi had an intense corrosive nature. Before Li Fuchen's sword chi could even get close, it was corroded by the opponent's chi and dissipated. Kid, after corroding your body, it should be able to increase my corrosive spirit chi by quite a bit. Zhao Dakue sneered. The corrosive spirit chi that he cultivated was a Mystic class mid-tier technique. It was able to corrode the enemy's body and convert the enemy's life essence into corrosive spirit chi for absorption. The degree of tyranny far surpassed most of the blood-sucking techniques. Under normal circumstances, even the 6th-level Earth Realm martial artists in the sect wouldn't be a match for him. They would be easily infected and corroded by his corrosive spirit chi. With a palm strike, a black palm strike was launched at Li Fuchen. Li Fuchen's body flashed and dodged the palm strike. Your light body technique isn't bad, but your cultivation level is too low. Zhao De shouted and burst out with his corrosive spirit chi, enveloping a radius of a few dozen meters. Li Fuchen could hear the hissing sound of the true Inferno Chi. The true Inferno Chi was a blazing hot chi that naturally countered corrosive chi. What's more, Li Fuchen's true Inferno Chi was of a high grade. With the true Inferno technique at the 14th rank, the quality of his chi was comparable to a 2nd or 3rd level Earth Realm martial artist. But Zhao Dui was still a 5th-level Earth Realm martial artist, and his cultivation level was much higher than Li Fuchen's. As the true Inferno Chi resisted against the corrosive Chi, it was rapidly depleting. Mystical Dragon's secret technique, activate. Li Fuchen activated the mystical dragon's secret technique. In a split second, a large amount of true inferno qi was transmuted into mystical dragon qi. The mystical dragon qi was like magma as it surged out and protected Li Fuchen. Right now, his opponent's qi was no longer able to do anything to Li Fuchen. Once it got near him, it would immediately evaporate. A secret technique that increases one's ability? Zhao Dekui was extremely jealous. He might have cultivated a mystic class, mid-tier technique, but the Devil's Hand Guild didn't have many secret techniques. He only cultivated a 2-star secret technique, and it was an escape-type secret technique. Spirit Corrosive Claw. Extending his right hand, Zhao Dekui clawed at Li Fuchen. Die! Without the need to execute a mystic class, mid-tier sword art, Li Fuchen dodged the claw light and used the meteor sword style to penetrate Zhao Dekui's body. These demonic Dao cultivators all cultivate profound cultivation techniques. Furthermore, they are extremely evil. Ordinary sect cultivators are probably no match for them. Even though he easily killed a 5th-level Earth Realm Demon Dao martial artist, Li Fuchen wasn't complacent. All the Earth Realm Demon Dao martial artists here were all at least at the 3rd level of the Earth Realm, and most of them were at the 6th level of the Earth Realm. In terms of cultivation speed, demonic Dao martial artists were much faster than righteous Dao martial artists. Transform. The number of demonic Dao martial artists was much lesser than the members of the 7th branch. But after a round of killing, the demonic Dao martial artists did not fall into a disadvantageous position. One of the demonic Dao martial artists struck out with a palm strike, and an Earth Realm martial artist from the 7th branch was forcefully turned into a bloody skeleton. A layer of skin and flesh was melted away. This was also a corrosion-type technique, but it seemed to be even more tyrannical and lethal than Zhao Dekui's corrosion-type technique. A pity that this demonic Dao martial artist didn't stay arrogant for long. A swift sword light flashed by and his head flew into the sky. The one who made the move was Emotionless Sword. His sword was extremely fast and ruthless. Up till now, he had made 3 moves and instantly killed 3 people. All of them were killed with a single blade. Let me try you. A 7th-level Earth Realm Demon Dao martial artist charged at Emotionless Sword. Emotionless Sword shot out and circled around his opponent a few times. The next moment, the body of the 7th-level Earth Realm Demon Dao martial artist was split into pieces. Such a terrifying sword art? Not only were the members of the 7th branch shocked, but the members of the Devil's Hand Guild were also terrified. Emotionless Sword's sword art seemed to be specially made for killing. Every move and stance was extremely vicious and merciless. It was fine if he didn't draw his sword, but once he did, the enemy could only pray. Incredible! This was Li Fuchen's first time seeing a true expert in action. Maybe in a few more years, Dominion Sword Lu Wuhuang and Yuan Tian might not be inferior to Emotionless Sword, or maybe not by much. But at the current stage, be it the two of them or Li Fuchen himself, there was still a huge gap between them and Emotionless Sword's class. The slaughter was getting more and more intense. On the battlefield, apart from Emotionless Sword who had the absolute advantage in killing his enemies, the others were in a bitter struggle, including the various group leaders. Demonic Dao martial artists weren't regular martial artists after all. Their qi was very strange. It was either corrosive, poisonous, or hallucinogenic. In short, when martial artists fought, speed and attack power were important. But apart from these two, there were other factors that would affect the outcome, which was why even though the 7th branch had the advantage in numbers, it was impossible to turn the advantage into a victory in a short period of time. If they weren't careful, they might even fall into a dangerous situation. Li Fuchen personally witnessed one of the 7th branch's Earth Realm martial artists who thought he had the absolute advantage but got poisoned by a careless mistake. His combat ability was greatly reduced and he was slashed by his opponent in a single slash. Apart from that, there were plenty of direct disciples from the 7th branch who were also dragging their feet. Their cultivation levels were too low. They might be able to skip levels to fight, but how much could they skip? Had it not been for 1 or 2 high-leveled Earth Realm martial artists protecting them at all times, they would have been long dead. In this encirclement, only direct disciples who were at the third level of the earth realm and above could barely protect themselves. Only direct disciples who were at the fifth level of the earth realm and above could bravely kill their enemies. Emotionless Sword's instant kill didn't last for long. After he killed 7 or 8 Demon Dao martial artists, he was intercepted by a 9th level earth realm Demon Dao martial artist. Emotionless Sword's cultivation was at the 5th level of the earth realm. This cultivation level wasn't low, but it wasn't high either. To instantly kill a 9th level earth realm Demon Dao martial artist who cultivated a mystic class cultivation technique was rather difficult. After all, the higher the cultivation level, the higher the probability of comprehending a martial art intent or a cultivation technique intent. The difficulty of skipping levels to do battle wasn't just a small matter. Li Fuchen met an opponent as well. It was a Demon Dao martial artist who was at the 6th level of the earth realm. Li Fuchen had already comprehended an intent, and his ability wasn't just average. He wasn't someone that the previous Demon Dao martial artist or the previous city lord of Yunwu City, Shentu Jianhe, could be compared to. Comprehending an intent and not, the difference in ability was at least 2 folds. Hee, your body is quite tough. You actually managed to exchange a blow with me without any damage. I wonder if sucking your blood will allow my cultivation to rise by a level. This was a demonic path martial artist that practiced a blood-sucking cultivation method. He stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. The blood of a body refinement martial artist contained an extremely pure life essence. It had always been the favorite of martial artists who cultivated blood-sucking techniques. Let's see if you have the life to increase your cultivation level. Urgent as the Starfire. Li Fuchen used the Starfire sword style to attack his opponent. It's useless. I have comprehended an intent too. No, This demonic Dao martial artist had a look of horror on his face. His protective true energy had directly melted away, and a large hole had appeared in his chest. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, Martial World, and tales of demons and gods.